And on that note, I'd like a round of applause for Dr. Hesberg. He is really, really something. Moving right along, I'd like to thank our premier sponsors. We have our founding sponsor, Dassault Systemes. We have LAC Wheel Trim Systems, Axalta Coating Systems. Additionally, Catskin Leather sponsored our judges' breakfast and the meet and greet. MacuHealth, which will be the sponsor here today of our panel discussion. We also have as sponsors ASC, JVIS USA, GFK, SRG Global Incorporated, ABC Group, UltraSuede, Johnson Controls, Michelin of North America, Harman International. Additionally, we have a lot of in-kind support help here. Brophy Group helps us, as well as Car Design News, Dynasty Media, Dawnwood Photography. This year, EyesOn Design will be presenting 4 awards. The Catalyst Award, which we introduced last year, Best Concept Vehicle Award, Best Production Award, and new this year, we are debuting Innovative Use of Color, Graphics, and Materials Award. Before we present these awards, I would first like to welcome the members of our Designers Discussion Panel. We enjoyed last year's discussion, and I'm sure that this year will be even better. The sponsor for this year's panel discussion is MacuHealth. Here representing MacuHealth is Frédéric Jouet. Frédéric, would you like to say a few words?
My name is Frédéric Jouet. I'm the owner and president of MacuHealth. We're thrilled to be a sponsor of this event tonight. As Dr. Hesberg explained earlier, we still have a lot of work to do to help people who are in the dark from blindness. By 2020, only 6 years from today, 40 million people in this country will suffer from age-related macular degeneration, the leading cause of blindness in this country. Just as the DIO, MacuHealth is engaged fully in the fight against this disease, and our products have been able to assist people with the disease as well as prevent the progression of the disease in people at risk. It is an immense pleasure to be a sponsor this year for this event, and I can assure you that we will do much more for the DIO and for this cause in the future. Enjoyed the ceremony, and thank you for having us.
Thank you, Frédéric. We're delighted to have MacuHealth supporting our cause. I would like to now invite my dear friend Stewart Reed to the stage. Stu? Joining Stu this year will be Anne Asensio, Vice President of Design Experience, Dassault Systemes, Ralph Gilles, Senior Vice President, Product Design, Chrysler Group, Dave Marek, Director of Automobile Styling Division, Honda R&D. Unfortunately, Franz van Haalhuizen of Tesla was not able to be here, but this will be our panel this year. Stu?
Yep, great. Thank you.
There's a mic to run.
So are we in the right order?
Yes, we are, but you're not up here.
Oh, that comes later.
Come later.
Oh, I wish you could have been in the judges' room. It was really a lot of interesting discussion. But as we think about the topic that we're talking about today, human-machine interface, it's a huge topic with the design community and with automotive development in general. But as we began talking about this afternoon, we agreed that maybe our first thing would be just a couple of overview feelings about the whole show. And I was talking with Chuck Pelley about it earlier, and we were talking about kind of the divergence of design language that we see out there. So actually, before we launch into our topic, just a comment from each of you about, because it came up as a heated discussion in there, the very different kinds of design language, and maybe that's okay given different brands and different history and so on. Thoughts on that one, Ralph?
Yeah, I mean, we spent a lot of time talking about sculpture, design, what the difference between a show car and a concept car, and obviously a predictive, I guess, precursor vehicle. The answer to that is there's everything at the Detroit show. It's fun again. I mean, I think between the Toyota concept that we know kids are going to love looking at, and the more mature, sophisticated Volvo that's there, there's some great bookends of design that we haven't seen in a long time. So it's a great time to be in this business, and I think it's great for the Detroit show.
Dave.
Yeah, I agree. I think the optimism here is better than it's been in a long time. And I think our discussion was, is a car classic if it's very smooth and refined? And all of us, you know, we're a little bit more experienced, so we tend to like the more clean classic car. But you know, maybe today's youth wants more entertainment in the car. They're used to video game, things like that. So I think if you do both, why not? Let's, you know, maybe it resonates. For, you know, we need to embrace that there'll be younger people doing things as we go forward.
Yep. Thoughts on that, Anne?
Well, I really appreciate this show because I think I'm glad to see Detroit back. It's always the best place for me to realize how the North American auto industry is doing, as well as just putting into the context of the Europeans and Asian production. I would say that I would agree. This is maybe something starting as a tipping point when it comes to enhancing the overall experience of the cars, not just by delivering the purpose of what it is, that means delivering the total experience of a brand, but when you get into the inside, you see that those technology that used to be scattered start to be more and more integrated, more and more thought through, meaningful about wherever they deliver service, usage, but also definitely the total experience of the brand. So I thought this show is probably a tipping point when it comes to just integrated those features that used to be very fragmented in the past.
Yep. Thank you. So turning to the topic of human-machine interface, you know, there's so much buzz on this topic now, and you know, most of the automakers have research facilities in Palo Alto or San Jose, and everybody is deeply concerned about the human experience and the interaction with a complex product like automobiles. And it's interesting, we're doing a project coming up this term at Art Center College of Design on that topic, sponsored by Ford, and we're really going to be looking with a transdisciplinary group of students on what that actually means. And as the students at Art Center are thinking about it, it's obviously the kind of thing that, for example, you imagine a future of a fully autonomous vehicle. Some students are surmising you won't need windows to see out of the vehicle, and this was the kind of thing we were talking about earlier. And so that's kind of an opening thought. As you think about this exchange we make with a complex vehicle, how radically could it affect the architecture long term? I mean, short term we know it won't so much, but what do you think long term? Start with Anne.
Well, definitely, you know, I don't like the term human-machine interface. What we are seeing is in the past we were maybe focusing on the car and the technology, when it is clear today that we have to focus on human. And when I say human, it's a total holistic experience of human. That means polysensorial, not just the sight, even if we are here at EyesOn Design, but also the total polysensorial experience. And that's really where we have to start. I can realize on the Cadillac you have those haptic return when you have on the touch. You have a mini signal that is completing the experience. So putting a human in the middle, get the senses and the meanings all together, that's going to be really where the design have to basically tackle in the future.
Yep. Dave.
Yeah, for me, it's exactly that, but it could be really complicated because there's so many ways to do it, and you're trying to decide. Part of it's brand, part of it's the customer, and they come first, and then you start to figure out how are you going to, is it gesture control, is it voice activated, is it autonomous? I think you would need a lot of Dramamine if you have no windows. But
do you think there will be voice control?
Yeah, but I think that one of the other things, all of that I completely agree with. It also opens up the opportunity for styling, because this is a styling award. But in terms of the infrastructure of the IP and the HVAC controls and all of that has become, I think, for the future customer, like a given. It's second. They don't want to have to fiddle with that stuff. like my house is cool. Why can't I just, have my phone connected to the car and use that? So I think you're going to see a lot more environment and experience like Anne's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to add that, first of all, I'm glad automotive interiors aren't looking like fighter jets anytime soon. If anything, based on the trends in the concept cars, it's actually a simplification trend we're seeing. A lot of information being managed in a small space, and a lot of designers are going away from multiple screens to a single screen. But ultimately, where I look at sci-fi movies for inspiration, and talking your car and having your car be a partner in your life and taking out the anxiety of driving, I think is something people want. You want the simplification. I also imagine a day when you're in traffic, what do you do when the car drives itself? You process, you communicate with your friends, you read the paper, you read your iPad, whatever. It's going to be a lounge experience someday, traveling on the freeway, not so much a stressful experience. So I look forward to that. I think designers are up for the challenge, and a lot of them are hanging out at CES instead of here.
Well, it kind of becomes a safety issue too, because right now there's so much safety that goes into it. You can actually eliminate some of that because it's autonomous and you're not going to hit anything.
Yep.
So why can't you sit sideways or backwards, whatever it is?
I mean, if you think about it, over the last 10 or 15 years, as more and more screen-based interaction in the car, and I know when the first ones came out, there was actually a lot of pushback, by journalists and by even customers that it was too complex and too many layers of access to things. And I think we tend to focus on that interaction, but I know, Ralph, you and I were talking a little earlier about, for the automobile, there's probably a much broader definition of HMI, or a different definition than just sort of the screen-based thing.
Yeah, it's true, and our customers are very broad. We still have a very elderly customer out there that wants to use a car as well as a young customer, and managing that information is a challenge. But simplicity, simplicity, simplicity. I think at the end of the day, if you look at what Apple has done with their process, it's just how can you get all that information to be elegant? So,
Yep.
you go.
I would like to say something. We just focus on basically the way we translate those experiences, like screens, solder stack, information. What is very interesting is designers always focus on matter. The matter, this is, wood, aluminum, specifically on the interior. What we have to manage now, it's immaterial matter.
Absolutely.
But it's matter. It's big data, it's structuration of information. All those things are also now the new materials, I will say premium materials for designers to work with.
Who has the best font?
And exactly, but at the end, today we see just the screens that we have on our pocket to get into the car. I think it's really, really just not right. I think we're going to be starting to see designers taking again all those possibilities of immaterial matter, big data, services, content, and bringing into the car in a relevant and meaningful way. And this is really, really the beginning.
I mean, it's scenarios. I mean, you have these scenarios. How is the customer going to use that? What, a family compared to a single person, whatever they're going to do, the scenarios. And how do you keep the brand? At Honda, we're trying to always, it needs to have the same visual experience, but still it's unique to maybe an Odyssey as a family, maybe, it's rear entertainment system, however you do this. I think that the goal for us is going to be to get the smartphone fantasticism, whatever it is, into the experience of the car. Because right now, you get in, sometimes you have smart start, but you get in, the car starts, and you drive it. That's how you've always done it. So all that stuff is kind of cool. You're like, wow, that was cool, but it has to be more than that. It has to end up being this life. I think cell phone is life right now.
That's my sense. That's what's going to be learned, is that there are some deeper, less obvious layers to this, and when you define HMI for the automobile. I know, Ralph, you were talking earlier about just the whole notion of removing anxiety out of the driving experience. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, we've done a lot of research with literally, it sounds funny to talk to 80-year-olds, but they were more high-tech than we anticipated. They loved the technology. They saw the technology as a way to simplify their day, expand their driving experience. A lot of them only drove during the daytime and were afraid to drive at night. That's where a semi-autonomous vehicle can take that completely out of the picture, and they can enjoy their car 24/7, not have to be afraid.
Yeah, that's cool.
And that's something we didn't think about, make the car more appealing using technology. At the same time, they don't even realize the car's doing this. It's just natural. A lot of people wanted the car to be like their dog.
Yeah,
They would name their car and it'd be their friend, and it would be almost a partner in life.